Welcome to TV Trash. What? Look, I get it. We all get it. Just about everything made in the 1980s was a toy commercial. Transformers, He-Man, Ninja Turtles. Every cartoon had to be shilling something that would clear the shelves at Toys R Us. But laser tag? Really? The whole concept of taking war games and making them all futuristic? There have been multiple incarnations of this game, but it was in 1986 that Worlds of Wonder officially trademarked the name laser tag with a Z and turned the game into something that could be played in the backyard and not just some dark abandoned warehouse at the seedy end of town. The story goes that the success of this brand is actually what drove Nintendo of America to allow the original NES to be sold in retail stores across the country, pretty much ending the infamous video game crash. So yeah, laser tag was a big thing in the 80s, so I guess Ruby Spears making a cartoon about it a year after its release was inevitable. But this is what they came up with? You'll see what I mean as we get into Laser Tag Academy. At the very least, in addition to a He-Man style exposition dump in the title sequence, we do get an actual pilot episode simply titled The Beginning, where we open in New York City 75 years in the future, where this criminal mastermind named Draxon Dreer and his minions that look like Planet of the Apes ripoffs called Skugs are fleeing from the cops. And I have to say, I do get a chuckle out of some of these jokes right off the bat. Like when Draxon just plows into the entrance to the airport, I mean spaceport.
Same to you, fella.
Ah, some things about New York never change. So Draxon steals a spaceship and plans to hide out on Mars because the future. But it turns out the spaceship actually has a security function that knocks them all out and sends the ship plummeting back down into the ocean, certainly to their deaths. We then fast forward all the way to the year 3010. While Philip J. Fry is being held prisoner by Amazons that want to snoo him to death, over in Los Angeles, we see that laser tag has become such a big phenomenon that it's now played in big outdoor football stadiums. And it's here we are introduced to our main character, Jamie, who is the World Laser Tag Champion. But I say this whole competition was rigged. For frack's sake, her opponents were aiming at her feet, not her upper body. These guys were either incompetent at laser tag or they were on the take. It turns out that Jamie is this future's version of Kim Possible, as she also works with a whole group of research scientists at the Laser Tag Academy, who have just discovered a 1,000-year-old spaceship that was buried in the Atlantic, and of course it's the one containing Drax and his minions, who are all still living in suspended animation, and oh good night, they're ripping off Captain America. And yes, I can say that because the whole plot point about Captain America being suspended in ice for years dates all the way back to the first Avengers comics in 1963. Thank you, Linkara, for that information. Naturally, the scientists want to revive the frozen beings because even in the future, people just can't not press the button. This goes as well as you would think. Fortunately, Jamie has something called the Starlight, which gives her laser tag gun far more abilities than normal. And yes, it's completely whatever the plot demands, like trapping these monsters in a force field. This is supposedly how crime has been completely eliminated in the 31st century.
This is the most I've been able to lift yet.
You're doing great.
Good freaking night! No wonder this girl wins laser tag all the time! And people today complain about the Houston Astros using a trash can! Long story short here, once Draxon finds out the power of the Starlight includes time travel, he springs his hairy lackeys from jail. How they had a jail when there's supposedly no crime is beyond me. And uses the Starlight to travel back to the most dangerous, vicious place of all time. Los Angeles in the 1980s! Hey, you all know I've been there, so I can vouch for that. He goes back to 1987 because that's when Jamie's ancestor, Beth Jaren, first developed what would become the Starlight. And if he stops her, it would end this utopian civilization of the future. I should point out that Draxon is also revealed to be an ancestor of Jamie, but a descendant of Beth, which would mean that if he actually does do anything to Beth, let's just say Drax may have to get into some Futurama creepy stuff if he still wants to exist.
You're the only person who can go back in time and stop Dreer.
Just jumped right up here.
Yeah. How'd you do that? Hey, why are you wearing those funny-looking clothes?
Okay, kid, 1. You're in 1987. This was when bleach-stained jeans was considered a good look. 2. Laser tag was invented in 1986. You're telling me you don't recognize a laser tag get-up? I'd bet that by 87 there were a dozen laser tag arenas in LA alone. Naturally, one of these two kids is Beth, and her brother are forced to believe Jamie when Draxon kidnaps their kid brother and tries to ransom him. But Jamie is able to lead a rescue attempt by taking control of a bus and crashing it into their hideout. Okay, girl, you know that crime thing you say doesn't exist in your time period? That's pretty much what you just did here.
No, you idiots! Let me loose!
They're gone!
The rest of the episodes, well, they're actually just standard sci-fi action adventure stories you'd probably expect. They usually involve Draxon coming up with some new plan to take over the past that usually backfires because the idiot Skug screws something up. Which might be funnier if not for the fact that the Skugs don't speak English. Hey, maybe it saved them a ton on voice acting and writing, but it just makes you pine for some classic bebop and rocksteady banter. Many of the episodes are about Draxon bouncing back and forth between different time periods like an anti-Sam Beckett, trying to wreak even more havoc on Beth and Jamie's other ancestors. I again reference you to the Futurama situation. Oh yeah, and we also have this annoying neighbor kid who thinks he's Gladys Kravitz and is constantly trying to expose whatever Jamie and her friends are doing, because of course we have to have that character type. He's annoying and provides nothing but bad attempt at comic relief. I've said enough there. And of course, this all leads to the big question. What the hell does any of this have to do with laser tag? Despite my gag at the top of this video, the potential to turn something like laser tag into an action-adventure show was there. Some super laser tag team that also fights evil, usually ending up in some type of arena where they have to actually play the game for their lives. Seems like the perfect setting for some 80s or 90s tokusatsu program. Here, all they basically did was take some player from the future and put her in a world where the game apparently doesn't exist, despite, as I said, the game actually existing in real life, and making her some type of superhero because her equipment does just about everything other than the game itself. Which just makes this one of the worst possible shows that took a fantasy element and drops it off into our current real world, because more than ever the most potential was in that fantasy setting. Imagine if the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime series actually came out after the card game instead of vice versa, and instead of actually being about the Duel Monsters game, Yugi gets sent to some alternate world where the card game doesn't exist, and he instead has the ability to make the game monsters real and have them fight like kaijus. Okay, that actually came out a lot more awesome than I thought it would, but you get my point! Not surprisingly, this series only got the 113-episode season, though a number of those episodes were repackaged to make a handful of VHS movie releases, which is clearly where a number of the uploads I found came from. The reruns were eventually picked up by the Sci-Fi Network in 1993 for their Sci-Fi Cartoon Quest block, but given the new title Lazer Patrol. Because we all know by the 1990s, anything from the 80s was totally passé, man. Though in this case, I would agree. If the purpose of Laser Tag Academy was to shill the laser tag game, well, it failed miserably because almost nothing after the first 5 minutes of the pilot is about the actual game. For frack's sake, Captain N did a better job showing off so many video games. Freaking Rubik the Amazing Cube did a better job showing what the product they were shilling was about. This isn't a terrible cartoon for what it is. It's the type of goofy adventure show you'd expect for its time, but just the fact that it was meant to be another toy shill and completely missed the mark on that makes you wonder why they even tried. I mean, this could have been one of the first adventure shows of the 80s that was made just for itself and not created from a toy line. Man, if only a show like that from this time actually existed.